My name is Sandy Masuri from Balloon Utopia. We're going to be talking about the California balloon laws today. Did you know that California had balloon laws that were different from the other states? Did you even know there was such a thing as a balloon law? Well, there is, and it's really important that you know about it even if you're not in California. Why, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. The reason is because Mylar balloons, now this law really pertains to Mylar balloons, those are those really neat, shiny message balloons that you see in bouquets, that you see in the stores. They can be in numbers, they can be animal shapes, all different kinds of things. They're made out of metal. They conduct electricity. Now this is important because the way that our power lines are set up overhead, and let's say you're using these balloons and you give them out to your guests at the party. And little Susie is only 5 years old and she holds on to it for a while and she gets tired of holding it and she lets it go. Well, let's say that it happens to get up into a power line. That balloon can put out an entire neighborhood, possibly even an entire grid. So it's really important to understand what the California balloon laws are and how to follow them. So without further ado, let me tell you about the California balloon laws. Your first law, never use metallic ribbon on any helium-filled balloon, be it Mylar or latex. Now why is that? For the same reason. Metallic ribbon conducts electricity. So if that balloon gets lost, even if it's a latex balloon, and it gets up into that power line, that Mylar ribbon or the metallic ribbon wraps around the power line, it's going to put out an entire grid. So never, ever, ever use metallic ribbon on anything that's filled with helium. 2, use balloon weights. All balloons have to be anchored to a weight, all foil balloons I should say. Now, that weight can be anything as long as it's heavy enough to hold down the balloon. But they make weights in all different kinds of shapes and sizes and styles and textures and everything else. It doesn't have to be fancy. Here I have some different ones. This is kind of a big heart, or they've got happy faces, or little balloons or animals. And then here's something that's kind of neat, especially if your plan is to give the balloons out. This is a slap bracelet that has exactly enough weight for a regular 18-inch foil balloon, and the kids can just wear it, and then they've got their balloon on their wrist. Everything's great. Mom doesn't have to carry it. You don't have to tie it to them. It can go on the belt loop or something like that. I really love these for parties. If you don't want that, that's fine. Sometimes when we want a flat look and we don't want the weight to be seen, we'll use fishing weights that we get at the hardware store. Sometimes we'll use flat washers that we'll get at the hardware store, water bottles that we've wrapped in nice paper, even water balloons that we've wrapped in nice paper. So really the weight can be anything as long as it's heavy enough to hold down the balloon. 3, never group foil balloons. Each balloon has to be anchored by itself, which brings us to the 4th one, which is individually anchor each foil balloon. So what does that mean? That means that we can't do a cluster of foil balloons tied together that are helium filled. Now, if it's air filled, for instance, we can make columns out of all Mylar balloons because air filled balloons don't float. But helium filled balloons, you have to be careful what you're attaching and how you're putting them together. Which brings us to the 4th one, which is individually anchor your balloons. We can't group the balloons together or just kind of tie them in one knot and then tie them down to the weight, because if that weight gets cut off, now you've got a big group of Mylar balloons that are going to wrap around that power line, or potentially could. So what that means is that, for instance, if you're doing a grouping of balloons that's mixed balloons, you don't want to tie them together. You want to have your latex balloons arranged and then bring in your Mylar balloon and bring that ribbon all the way down to the weight and tie it onto the weight itself. Now, a place where it really makes a difference, and I'm sure you've seen this in decor from other states, is in arches. And I'm sure that you've seen those gorgeous big giant letter balloons that they have out there. They're really fun to use for events and to spell out names and numbers, things like that. But the thing about them is, if you're going to make an arch, it has to be against a wall because you wouldn't be able to walk underneath it, because once you get your balloons where you want them, you then need to go back and tie a ribbon to every single balloon coming down to its own weight, as you can see in this picture. So remember, if you practice responsible balloon use, then everyone will get to enjoy the colors and feelings that balloons bring for a long, long time to come.